Good day. You are listening to the Bloomin Bodhisattvas podcast, brought to you by the Rissho Kosei-kai Dharma Center in Oklahoma City. I'm James.
I'm Alex.
I'm Jocelyn.
And I'm Karen.
And we're
the Bloomin Bodhisattvas. That is enough, Shariputra. I should say no more. Why is this? Because the Dharma the Buddhas have attained is understood only rarely and with great difficulty. Only a Buddha together with a Buddha can fathom the ultimate reality of all things.
That is to say, among all things, each has such an appearance, such a nature, such an embodiment, such a potential, such a function, such a cause, such a condition, such an effect, such reward, and from the first to the last, such an ultimate identity.
So today we're going to be discussing the 10 Suchnesses. Now, we just read from the Kyoten where the Suchnesses are mentioned. This is in chapter 2 of the Lotus Sutra. And so one of the things that strikes a lot of people when they read that passage is that little section where it says, a Buddha together with a Buddha. Now, what do you think that means?
Well, doesn't it refer to the Sangha?
Could, yes, that there's like a communion and a community of people and dialogue, sure. What else do you think it means?
That only two people that are enlightened as a Buddha can fathom the ultimate reality of all things.
Right, like it takes two great minds to really get into it. All right. No, those are all really great answers, but there's a secret. Karen, did you want to throw something in here?
Is everyone our teacher?
That is also a really good answer. That, even a Buddha can teach another Buddha. Ooh, I like that. That's a wonderful example. So let me tell you the secret code behind a Buddha together with a Buddha. Are you ready?
Super secret code.
It
No
is.
way.
Yes, it's actually a mystery. Excellent. So, this is referring to a section in the Lotus Sutra where Shakyamuni Buddha rises up in the air. And there's a stupa up above him, and kind of the guardian spirit of that stupa is another Buddha called the Tathagata Abundant Treasures. And they sit down together and have a conversation. Now, a lot of people would consider this to be kind of Buddhist heresy because it's saying, wait, there was one Buddha who lived a life back in the day, and you're saying that there is others? That just doesn't make sense. So here's what it's saying. So there's one Buddha here, and that is the Buddha Shakyamuni, the one who we talked about in the very first episode that was a prince of the Shakya clan and had a wonderful life and then went out and had the 4 encounters and then ended up being a teacher and taught, until he was in his 80s and died. And that is one of the Buddhas. So the secret here is, what is the other Buddha? So let's talk about Tathagata. So we use that word a lot, and it has a lot of different meanings in Buddhism. But one of the meanings, it means that, it literally means thus come or thus gone, and it's really talking about going to the other shore. And we've talked about this before.
Isn't Tathagata one of those words that Buddhism kind of made up?
It is a Sanskrit word, and it may be used in other ways, but it means, thus come. I'm not sure what, and you can make a lot of different things out of that. And so in early Buddhism, it's talking about the fact that there were other Buddhas in Mahayana Buddhism, that there were other Buddhas in, that came before Buddha Shakyamuni, and even that there were other Buddhas like in the myriad worlds of time and space, in the past and the present, in the 10 directions, in the future, all of it. And that all of those Buddhas share a nature. And so one of the things that you could say about Tathagata is that it's talking about the essence of Buddha, the essence of Buddhahood, which is Buddha nature itself. And so you have two different kinds of aspects of the Buddha. You have the big transcendent Buddha that is kind of encompasses all of time and space, that then gets manifest into individual Buddhas along the way. So all of the Buddhas that appear in the material world are all kind of, essences of this great Buddha nature, this great life force of the universe. So this kind of brings us to the point of, what is suchness? What do you guys think?
Like such as?
That's good. Yeah, sure. That's good. What do you think a suchness is?
I'm here to figure that out.
Okay, very good. You gave voice to your facial expression. That was very nicely done.
Thanks.
All right, so
I try.
suchness, it's one of those words, and there are many, that just doesn't translate into English very well from Sanskrit. And, it's not only English that has this problem. I mean, there are words that have trouble translating from, Sanskrit into Chinese, for example. And so the word for suchness is tathata, which seems like it's related to...
Tathagata.
Yeah, so there must be some kind of connection there. All right, so let me see if I can explain tathata. So tathata is this kind of fundamental, and by unconditioned, it means that it's not relying on anything else. Ultimate, which means that it's like the primal, fundamental, first thing of nature of reality. Okay.
So is it the reality that the Buddhas are fathoming?
Yes. And so when we talk about the ultimate reality of all things, we're literally talking about tathata as it is. All right. Now, it also is related to emptiness, and we'll get there eventually. And so what it means, it's a reality the way it is, free from the way we conceive it, free from our projections of it, our expectations, free of our habitual ways of thinking. And all this is what we call conditioning. So conditioning could come from your previous experiences. It could come from the biology of your body and your brain. It could come from culture and how culture trains you to look at the world. And so all of that, tathata is free from all of that. And that's really the whole point of this. The reason we study the suchnesses is to try to practice clearing our mind from all of the conditioning that distorts our view of reality. All right. So where did this come from? All right. Well, there's a little controversy about that. So the Lotus Sutra is really kind of a compilation of a bunch of different writings that sort of happened around the turn of the millennia, around 1000-ish. So long after the Buddha was gone. And eventually, right around 300, it kind of finds form in different places, and then it gets translated into Chinese by Kumarjiva, who was really the person that was probably responsible for popularizing it.
Awesome name, by the way.
It is Kumarjiva. He's awesome. And so he takes some liberties. All right. And so they've looked at like older versions of the Lotus Sutra, and they can only find 6 suchnesses, and they aren't really called that. It's really him that sort of puts it together. And out of this, and in fact, out of the Lotus Sutra, you get some serious schools of thought in Buddhism. And so there are a lot of different Buddhist texts, and different sects of Buddhism will have some that they really concentrate on. Like we talked about the Heart Sutra or the Diamond Sutra, and there's different ones. And so the Lotus Sutra is really a unique Buddhist sutra. It's kind of weird, as we've been discussing. And
so we're not like other Buddhists.
Yeah, I mean there are some definite things, but every Buddhist school of thought has its own very unique qualities. But ultimately they're saying the same thing. And so the suchnesses really don't appear in other Buddhist texts. They're very unique to the Lotus Sutra and to all the schools of thought that kind of came out of that, which is the Tentai school, which was in China, founded by the monk Juri. And that turns into Tendai in Japan. And then Nichiren kind of takes the Lotus Sutra and he creates his own kind of school of thought. And then, of course, Rissho Kosei-kai kind of, around World War II is established. What was it, the 30s when Rissho Kosei-kai was kind of established? Yeah, so like pre-World War II. And they kind of follow in the same sort of school.
And everyone has fabulous names.
It is so true.
Yes.
And so Juri, who was one of the people who really looked at the Lotus Sutra as a kind of the essence of Buddhism, said that the 10 Suchnesses were in fact the essence of the Lotus Sutra. All right.
If we cast aside the mind that attaches to the self and begin instead to see, think, and act in accordance with the original mind of suchness, this world would reveal itself as nirvana just as it is.
Wow. And that is a quote from Niwano. And so it's saying in a certain way that if we sort of look at suchness, such that it is, we will see the world the way it truly is, the ultimate reality, where everything is actually all one thing, and that is nirvana. So that seems kind of a contradiction. Well, if that's the case, if we want to see it all as one thing, why are we doing all these lists and breaking everything down into component parts?
To help us memorize the way to achieve nirvana?
Right, so lists just kind of give you mnemonic devices?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's good. I like that. All right, what else?
To understand all things. And-
Well, how does breaking it down into a little list help us understand?
I mean, it helps us organize things and, gives us almost step by step,
Sure.
Yeah,
I like that. And so it kind of breaks it into little component parts, which makes
makes
it
them
easy.
bite-sized.
Yeah,
Like what we do.
right, for our mere mortal minds to comprehend.
We're bite-sizing down the bite-sizing
Yes.
Yes.
into
I'm
convenient
hungry
1-hour
now.
episodes.
Yes. Karin, what else?
It helps us implement these concepts into our actions, to our practice.
All right. Can you think of examples of how, things, not necessarily suchnesses, but just sort of the list kind of help you?
That pesky spoke in the 8-spoked wheel.
Yes.
Right speech.
Oh, yeah. Yes, it does really help. And there's all kinds of ways that Buddhism does this. And so we need to kind of take baby steps sometimes. And I think that's part of what's going on, is that we need, things sort of spelled out for us. And again, in the West, we really do like to take things step by step. We're not necessarily very good at holistic thinking. But when it comes to the suchnesses, there's one other aspect I want you to think of here. So all of these things are kind of happening at once. They really sort of describe a moment. And we talk about this a lot. And so in our minds, we can take a moment and almost freeze it in time and sort of pick out little aspects of it that are all really happening all together, and they're really all one thing, but we can focus on like one aspect or another aspect or another aspect. And so we do this with our own bodies, right? So sometimes we're more focused on, our sense of smell. Sometimes we're more focused on, what's happening with our feet, and that doesn't mean we stop.
Well, now
being a
I'm
whole
focusing
body.
on what's happening with my feet.
How are your feet doing?
They're in socks.
Yes. Oh, socks are great. All right. So again, and now I'm not really aware of what's happening with my nose because I'm thinking about feet. And
Well,
this
there are
is-
glasses.
hyper-aware.
There are glasses on your nose.
So all of this is kind of giving us something to, we compartmentalize these things in order to understand them. But with Buddhism, it's like you're doing one thing and you're counteracting it at the same time. So you can say that these things are separate and they're all one thing at once. And this is really hard for the poor Western mind to deal with. All right.
You're saying we contain multitudes?
Yes, indeed. Beautiful.
What the hell?
No, we will absolutely bleep that out for sure. Okay, good. All right, well, we should actually start getting into the suchnesses themselves. And so the first one is such an appearance. And so appearance really is just what it sounds like. It's what is striking your six senses, sight, sound, and smell, all that stuff. And so it could be shape, size, color, all that sort of thing. And so even though the suchnesses kind of describe, everything, all phenomena, we're going to stick with humans. How do suchnesses describe a human being? And so let's kind of look at how we deal with appearance. People can appear a lot of different ways. And so when you see someone, whether it's a friend or a stranger or whoever, what is your first read? What do you see when you're looking at somebody?
I typically look at how they carry themselves, how they're dressed, and expression on their face.
Yeah. So facial expression, body
Yeah.
language, stance. Sure.
Yeah, I
Excellent.
tend to go for the face first, like overall. I read expressions a lot.
Mm-hmm. What else?
Energy.
Oh,
And that's
good.
not, woo-woo.
Woo, no, it's not woo-woo at all. If we weren't able to read each other's energy, we would get in trouble fast.
You kind of see what vibes they bring to the
Yeah.
function.
Exactly.
If
Yeah.
it's nervous energy versus calm energy, you can tell if somebody's angry, and it matches up their facial expression and their posture, their body language, gestures.
All right, so you're
What
not
vibe
just
are they throwing out?
exactly. So you're not just looking at somebody, you're reading them, right? So how do so our impression of somebody isn't just, what clothes they're wearing and, that sort of thing, but it's really, an energetic thing.
Beyond what we see.
Yes. All right. So we're seeing through appearance into, what's going on.
What spiritual energy is their appearance
Right.
giving to me?
Yes, exactly. And we're trained to read facial expressions and body language in a lot of ways. In fact, that is a problem if you're really high on the autism spectrum. You have trouble reading those things, and it's almost like a form of blindness to not be able to see social cues in the way that we can see them kind of naturally and instinctually. And so Noano talks about different, ways that people kind of come off. Some people appear combative, mild-mannered, which is a great word that we should use again. Selfish, compassionate, cold-blooded, kind, profound, frivolous, all of this stuff.
And mild-mannered.
I love mild-mannered. I don't usually associate that with Superman's alter ego, Clark Kent. But
Should we just start doing this through the lens of superheroes now? Like, if we were
I
looking
think,
at Clark
yeah.
Kent, what would we think of him?
exactly, because all you have to do is put glasses on and suddenly you're a different person.
Yeah, and
Of course.
three of the four of
obviously.
us are wearing glasses
Yes, and that says so much about who we are.
that we need to see.
You know
Yeah.
what? And honestly, it's fair. I've had a lot of people where if I didn't wear my glasses that day, they're like, "Who are you?"
That
Weirdly
is
enough.
so weird.
I've had
think
people do
that-
that to me before.
I think that means they have like a form of face blindness.
Probably.
Well, I do know that they made me take my glasses off for like our school picture, and I didn't like my picture. I thought I looked weird without my glasses on, and so you just get kind of used to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it kind of becomes part of your character and your personality.
that
All right.
you have glasses.
So we're right back in this kind of contradiction between the fact that, all right, everybody is different, yet they're not different. All right, so this brings us back to the middle way and another quote.
Indeed. This way of thought leans toward neither the undifferentiated aspect, the aspect of equality, nor the differentiated aspect, the aspect of distinction. It does not merely assume the intermediate viewpoint between the two. Instead, it finds the truth in the unlimited possibility of mobility.
All right, so this is a big, heavy quote. We got some in this episode for sure. So
I think this is the most quotes we've had in an episode so far.
Yeah. And so when I teach this to the big boys and girls in Buddhist class, I usually throw a few quotes in there, and I just thought you guys were ready. You're ready for the big leagues.
Is this
I'm
going
a
to show
big
up
kid
on the
now.
test?
Yes, absolutely.
Sorry.
So the undifferentiated and the differentiated, so that's just a way of saying what we were saying before, is that in a lot of ways people are different. We're all unique. We all have different personalities. We all have different appearances, but on another level, we're all the same because we're all built of the same energy. Got it?
Interconnectedness.
So we ain't built different.
Yeah, exactly. So when you're trying to balance these two ways of thought, you're not trying to find one little middle point where you're sort of halfway between one and halfway between the other. It's more complicated than that. You're almost thinking of them both at the same time, or the way that it says, you find truth in the unlimited possibility of mobility. Do you guys have any idea what they're talking about there?
No.
Okay, so what's being mobile here is your point of view.
Okay.
All right, so try to kind of fathom that. How can your own perspective of someone else's appearance be mobile?
Oh, okay. It just can change.
Mhm.
It can be altered depending on what information or new information you intake about a person or about a situation.
Good.
Or the context in which you're viewing that person.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. And it can even go further. You, again, by being aware of the fact that you can look at somebody in all these different ways, you can then control it. And so you can make a conscious decision that I need to look at this person as, a little bit more separate right now. Or you can make a conscious decision to say, you know what, I really want to look at the part of that person that's just got Buddha nature. And that, we're really kind of made of the same stuff. And that gives you the possibility to kind of, shift your perspective depending on what's called for. All right, does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's kind of part of skillful means. The ability to change your awareness in order to fit what is needed at that moment.
Or open-mindedness.
Exactly, I love it.
Ooh.
So the next one related to this is such a nature. And of course, it's related to appearance. So appearance is on the outside and nature is on the inside. And so when we have, when we say something's got a nature, what we mean is that it has, inherent characteristics.
So is this like taking meaning from all of the appearance aspects and kind of taking that into nature?
Well, it's more like the nature's already there. Maybe you see it, maybe you don't. All right. And it's related to appearance because, what's inside is going to be kind of reflected on what's outside to an extent. But this means things like when you're talking about human beings, their personality characteristics. That could be, genetic. Could have to do with just kind of, what is their temperament, their disposition, that sort of stuff. So this kind of leads us to nature versus nurture sort of things.
My sister and I are night and day. We grew up in the same households. We had the same programming, lessons, and she looks at the world very different. In many respects, we're the same. At least she's liberal. I won't say that. So it's like we get along.
As she should.
But, just her perspective is just, I'm always kind of going, where did you get that from,
Yeah.
And
I feel the same way about me and my brother and sister.
lessons that stuck with me are she's oblivious to, and it's just, again, it's her nature, my
Mhm.
nature.
Yeah, and I think about Alex, you and your brother, and just kind of how you just have very distinct personalities, even though just kind of raised in the same place. And so that's what we're getting at when it comes to nature. Just your kind of the stuff inside of you that kind of makes you. Your appearance can change, your fashion, your style, whatever, all of that can change, but your style of being a person, that doesn't change. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, and so let's look at what is kind of the relationship between nature and appearance. So you guys were talking about this to an extent, like you can kind of read somebody. Can you? When does the outer really reflect the inner?
I mean, so I feel like I might be a good example of this
Yeah.
because I'm goth.
Yeah.
But if you know me just by my personality, I don't know if you'd really guess that. Because a lot of people, they don't necessarily, I mean, like, you'd think that people, when they see me, I wear platforms, I have spikes, I wear dark makeup.
Mm-hmm.
But I've had multiple people who, like, are my friends who are like, I've never thought that you were, like, mean or, like, dark or, like, brooding or anything like that. You've always had such a kind disposition and kind face that the first thing I saw when I looked at you is the exact opposite of how you present yourself necessarily. But I've also had people who have only known over the internet or have never seen my face or my style who are like, I would have never guessed that you dress like that.
Yeah.
Or that you're into these things. So it's weird.
Yeah, and I don't think you do this, but I think some people, kind of hide behind an appearance that they sort of construct because they don't want people looking too deeply. I don't think you do that at all, but I know people who do.
In a way, I almost do. It's not necessarily, I want to outwardly look dark and brooding and mysterious, but
You want to look cool as heck.
I do want to look cool as heck. But, like, there's also, it's kind of almost a defense in a way, too, because out in, like, everyday life, I want to look a little more intimidating. That's why I wear platforms and darker clothes. It's to keep myself safe when I'm alone or I'm with a group of people that I'm a little bit more vulnerable with.
Yeah.
So.
In sociology, we call this impression management.
Yeah.
So, like, how do you actually go? Because you want people to look at you in a certain way, and you can actually, to an extent, control that. By dressing a certain way or coming off a certain way. And I certainly have personas that I present in certain places that are not exactly who I am all the time.
It's like those really big moths that make their wings look like the eyes of owls. So when predators see them, instead of seeing a large moth to eat, they see an owl hiding in the tree.
That is a really cool example. Yeah, I like that.
Hence why I love moths so much.
And listen, people can, without being deliberately hypocritical, they can come off a certain way, and then once you get to know them, you realize they're not that way.
Yeah. Happens to me all the time with my friends.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
To some degree, we don't want to make assumptions, but you can tell what someone values at a glance.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Someone with a lot of bling, a lot of gold, a lot of diamonds, that's what they value.
And and when people are deliberately using, status symbols and that sort of thing in order to make an impression, then, you can tell something about them that maybe even they can't know about themselves. And so, you certainly can read a book by its cover to an extent, but you have to be really careful because there is a notion that, if somebody's not very attractive, that must mean that they're kind of ugly inside too. And you've got to be really careful about that.
You can have an impression of somebody without treating them a certain way. Like, you can have, okay, I feel like this person might be kind of a person that I might not be compatible with, but I'm not going to treat them any differently when I interact with them than other people unless they give me a reason to.
Yeah, and a lot of our biases and prejudices come from just judging people by their appearance in a very shallow manner.
And some of our biases are societally in place.
Absolutely.
Like the emphasis we put on money
Yeah.
and the like hoarding of money and how we apply almost moral values to that. Like if someone is rich, has a lot of money, we immediately assume that they're smart, that they know what they're talking about, that they should be in government positions.
Yeah. Yeah, waving chainsaws around.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, there's actually that is actually called the fundamental attribution error, and it
I
is,
know.
and it is an error.
'Tis relevant.
Yes,
I wonder
indeed.
if I'm talking about anyone specific.
No, we don't get into politics in this little innocent podcast.
We don't.
Buddhism never gets into
We don't?
politics.
Overcompensating.
Yes,
You know,
Mm-hmm.
that can fool us sometimes, that underneath that facade is someone who's probably really insecure.
Yeah.
Deeply insecure.
And so, what Buddhism is going to do is, first of all, help us become aware of our social conditioning and all the biases that we might have, and kind of eliminate those so that we go back to really seeing things the way they are, not projecting things onto people that we might want to believe about them.
Did we ever mention that this was about such an embodiment yet?
So, such an embodiment is the next one. All right. And so, such an embodiment is where, very simply, it is appearance and nature synthesized together. All right. Now, it's still impermanent, it's still interconnected, but it's all those things, the inner and the outer, all one thing.
Well, if it's two things that are one thing, of course it's interconnected.
Duh, but not only is it interconnected itself, it's also impermanent.
Interconnected with
Yeah,
everything else.
right.
Because everything is interconnected with each other.
Yeah,
It's
so
all
all-
one giant Russian nesting doll
It
that makes
is
up
exactly
everything.
it. But remember, it's also kind of fluid, and I think that's why it makes that point is that you don't want to forget that even though people have a personality, that personality is still shifting and changing and all of that. All right,
It's impermanent.
exactly.
Woo.
Another thing I've heard with the embodiment is that it refers again to the aggregates or in Sanskrit the skandhas.
What are the skandhas?
Okay, so I honestly can't name them all right off the top of my head without notes. But they're just sort of the constituent parts of your mind and body. And some of them we talk about in like the 12-link chain of dependent origination, like Namarupa is another way to look at the skandhas. And so Nama is the nature of your mind, and Rupa is form. It's the nature of your physical form. All right, and you can even get into that even more, but it's about what are like the components that sort of make up what we call the mind-body complex. That's what the skandhas are, and there's 5 of them, and I can't remember all 5 right now.
What kind of Buddhist are you?
I
Another
know one that cannot remember all these lists.
Scandalous Buddhist.
another episode.
Yes. So let's talk about such a potential. So, all right. So this is literally kind of the same thing as how we talk about potential energy in physics, right? All right. So there's a rock. It's way up on a cliff. And, if one little support comes off, then that rock has, its potential energy will turn into actual kinetic energy and it'll roll down that cliff and, flatten the coyote or whatever happens. All right.
Not the coyote.
It was a Roadrunner reference.
Yeah,
Okay.
I got that.
Good. Okay. I didn't realize if
Should
you
we put a
kids,
meep meep sound effect? Meep 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 meep. Meep meep.
So potential is your power to accomplish something in the world. The fact that you can have an impact on the world around you. It's kind of like inside of you to begin with. All right. As human beings, we have the, potential to move and speak and breathe and, and touch things. And, we can have an impact on the world. So potential is just saying that that's all there before you do anything with it. All right. And so all of those things have to do with your nature as a human being. And then when those things actually happen, we call that function. You're functioning in the world. You're actually doing things. All right. And so a way to look at that would be applying yourself. So can any of you guys think of examples of how you go from potential to function?
When I go to work.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. So
I mean,
what do
I'm functioning there. I'm putting the things on the shelves. I'm leaving for 15 minutes and coming back to all the dog toys being on the floor again. Why?
All right. What else? other potentials into function?
I mean, we have the potential to do anything we want. Just well, we have
Ish.
limits.
We'll get into
we
that.
have limits.
Yeah,
but
we'll actually get into that very thing.
what I thought this was just we have the potential to change, the potential to, make reality what we want, and it's just up to us to put that into function.
Yeah, I like that as well. So the potential of our lives and our minds and all of that sort of stuff. Karin, can you think of examples? Potential?
Well, I was just, in my mind, potential's all great, but
Yeah.
unless you share it or implement it in some way to actually make things better, it's invisible.
It is, yeah, and internal for sure. I mean, when you're lying in bed in the morning and just not wanting to get up, there's the potential that just sort of sits there. Oh, and this podcast is a good example. I mean, Jocelyn, this podcast was really your idea. And, and that was an idea, and we could have easily not done anything about it.
Yeah, but now we have.
Yes.
And now we're 14 episodes in.
Can you believe it?
A year and a half later.
I mean, we got all the equipment together in the room. I mean, it took some.
We got funding from the temple.
Yeah.
Campaigning.
Yes.
We're making it happen. We put function.
All right.
Such a function.
Such a function.
So the only other point to make here is that, everything kind of acts out of its own nature. All right. Animals, as much as the dog drives me crazy. All right. The dog is doing its function, which is
and
to
her
be
function is to be anxious.
Yes, to be really spazzy and overly anxious all the time.
Poor baby can't help it.
Yeah.
She loves you.
I sometimes wish that she would just keep that as a potential and not a function.
Well, unfortunately, she doesn't have human critical thinking skills.
Or impulse control
Because unfortunately,
she's just like me for real.
She's a dog.
All right, so the thing that really makes us different from plants and animals is our free will, which is that we can sit there and go, I want to make this happen. All right, and the thing that's going on right now, I don't want that to go anymore. I want this other thing to happen, and we can shift things in ways that other creatures on this world cannot do. And that's another reason they call this precious human birth, because we have this free will that other beings do not have.
And we're precious.
We are precious.
Sometimes.
Most of us.
All right, so at this point in the little suchness parade, as it were, you've established a being, a human being. They've got their appearance, their nature, their embodiment, their potential, their function. So it's describing the characteristics of an individual. All right, now we're going to start to look at the bigger picture. All right, so we're going to go from one to many. And so everything, it doesn't matter whether it's a flower or an animal or a human, is interacting with the world around it in this big, complex web of interconnectedness. And we've talked about all of this before. Now, what you need to remember, though, for Buddhism, all of this takes place in accordance to the Dharma, even things going wrong. The Dharma is kind of the way things are supposed to be, the way things are. And in some way, in a really important way, suchness is simply describing the workings of Dharma, the force of the universe. And so this is going to bring us right back to what we discussed in episode 3, where we talked about Buddhist causation or causality, one of those, right? And so we're going to go into cause, condition, effect, and reward. You guys remember those?
Cause, condition, effect, reward.
Right. And so this is a person as cause. All right. And so when we are functioning in the world, we're having an impact on the world, and it's going, we got the outwardly directed functions. All right. And because we're interconnected with all things and we're interdependent, then all the things that we do are happening in a broader context. And because of that, some things come out and have an effect. Sometimes they don't. But in Buddhism, you have to remember to constantly be aware that I am the primary cause. And because of that, I have to be in control of what I'm doing and how it's impacting the things around me. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So cause and condition. So condition is that context. And so the context is the surroundings. And depending on your context, certain things might actually come to fruition and other things won't. Some things are going to help you. Some things are going to hinder you. Sometimes things just aren't going to happen at all. And so let's say I am in a bad mood. All right. So
What
right
happened,
there,
Dad?
it's got to be the dog. It's always the
Yeah,
dog.
it's always the dog. Did she wake you up again?
It could be any number of things. It could be I was, sleep deprived is usually, if I'm in a bad mood, that's usually the bottom line. Sleep deprived, I'm overwhelmed.
Maybe you had a stomach attack, and then
Yeah,
the
you
dog
could
woke
be
you up
sick.
early,
Yeah.
and then the cat was also
Yes.
awake, so you couldn't go back to sleep
Could
because
be
he
I
was
got
awake.
a big plumbing bill that I wasn't waiting for.
Yeah,
or
they're gonna have to
taxes, or-
jackhammer the floor
yeah.
to deal with the slate.
So we're all there. And so you're in a bad mood, but it's not going to really impact anything around you until it sort of hits a certain set of conditions. All right. Now that could be someone being not good at driving. Okay, so I'm in a bad mood. I'm driving to work. Someone else is being a really bad driver. How does that condition create an effect?
Makes you angry.
Right. And I might honk my horn. I might beat on my steering wheel. I might shoot the finger at them. All right. So cause condition leads to an effect. All right. And that effect then is going to leave an impression. And so in this case, what would happen? All right. So I shoot the finger at somebody who's being a horrible driver. Now what happens?
Now they're angry.
Yeah. And so I've sort of domino affected my grumpiness onto them. They might have just been not paying attention and just been oblivious. They weren't doing anything intentional. But because I got angry suddenly, now I've virally made my anger contagious. And that, again, might then come back to them getting angry at me. It could really lead to a dangerous situation that I escalated because I allowed my grumpiness to get out of control.
So lesson here is never flip somebody off while you're driving.
That is a fact.
I know you want to.
Oh,
But
man.
that's how you
never-
get shot.
You never
Yeah.
think you want to until you're behind the wheel and someone is driving really, really poorly in front of you.
Mhm.
You never think you're that kind of person, but you are. You're not immune to it.
Right. And so one of the points here is that all the other things we talked about before, your nature and your embodiment and all of that are going to have an impact on you, whatever you are doing in any given situation. So that's there first. And then the thing that actually comes out, that's where cause, condition, effect, and reward come into place. Give me other examples.
Well, in keeping with the traffic metaphor, we have a choice. We have free will.
Mm-hmm.
So how we respond is going to, make the difference on the effect.
Yes, exactly. And so, once we start to realize that we're having this bigger, broader impact on the world around us, then that hopefully gives us more awareness and self-control.
An incentive to reel oneself in,
Yeah.
and something, that the teachings has helped me with is, just I'm the one that is really affected by it. My anger
Mhm.
is the poison I've ingesting, not the other.
Mhm.
I mean, it might affect the other person, but ultimately it's me who it's affecting.
Now, when we were talking about this before, you kind of discussed boundary issues and having healthy boundaries.
I mean, I have very different boundaries when it comes to different people. I guess, because it's like there are different contexts for friendships or relationships. Like my oldest group of friends, you know, I have very different boundaries with them than I would with my coworkers,
Yeah.
who I don't really know. Like the way my friends talk to me, I would not tolerate that coming from anyone but them, because they're quite frankly kind of mean.
Yeah.
But it's like in a context where I'm really close with these people, so I know when they're like being mean, it's not in a bullying way. It's in a we've been friends for like 10 years.
Yeah, that's good. That's a really good example.
Yeah. But if
Yeah.
like my coworkers were to talk to me the same way that a lot of my friends would, then I would go to the manager about it, because that would be harassment.
And you know your friends well enough that you understand their, you know, their personalities and, you know, and all of that. And so all of that, again, brings more awareness, and the context is different. So the condition is different. Ooh, that's good. Okay, what else? Jocelyn, can you think of anything?
I mean, going off of boundaries again, like, I'm someone who's pretty, like, go with the flow kind of person. I mean, I have boundaries, obviously, but in comparison to a lot of other people, they're not as strict. But one of my best friends of all time, she is very, like, I'm a very physically affectionate person with anybody who I'm close to and that I care about. She is not. I'm one of the only people that she allows to be physically affectionate, because we are close on such a sisterly level, and she understands that that is the way that I show affection and show my appreciation and love for her, to where she's at a point where it's like, okay, I'm okay with that, and so we're physically affectionate. But that's just an example that I can think of.
That's a really good example. I mean, and again, this is back to awareness. You know, physical affection is something that could be easily misinterpreted depending on the context.
Exactly.
You know, especially as a male, it's something you really have to watch out about. And so, you know, knowing the context and, you know, looking at how ways, you know, it might be interpreted or misinterpreted is really a form of awareness. And so, you know, and I was thinking about how could you use this, you know, for good? And so I always think about interactions with, you know, people who, you know, like you guys who work at stores and, you know, do kind of these automaton sort of jobs like cashiers and that sort of stuff.
You have a set automated greeting and
Yes,
you know,
yeah. And
Automated voice.
yeah.
I remember when I was a cashier, I would really, really try my best to make that as human as possible. Like I would just try to have actual, genuine conversations with people. I probably annoyed them to no end, but I was trying to save my soul so that, you know. But there's a pharmacist at Walgreens, Muhammad. And so for whatever reason, I really have always liked Muhammad. And maybe I'm kind of overcompensating for, you know, American anti-Muslim sentiment or something like that. But I just really, you know, we talk and we like know each other, you know, as kind of, he knows a little bit about me. I know a little bit about him. He was wearing a fez the other day and I was like, great fez. And he's like, oh, it had all this needlework on it. So it's like, we're like best Walgreens buddies now, you know, and it really does kind of make a difference in the whole dynamic of what would normally be a very robotic relationship. Right. And so if I'm like struggling with something, he's going to genuinely help me out. And when I can tell he's having a kind of bad day, I'm going to kind of compensate and it's like, so I'm going to try to make this as easy for you and ask you how you're doing. And, you know, that's what Buddhism brings to the table. This awareness of how all these little dynamics work. So we can use the power of suchness to counteract the culture of cruelty that we are immersed in right now, where people are just being flat out abusive in not just interpersonal relationships on a local level, but really on a national level.
Is this our Buddha superpower, being nice and respectful in any context?
Yeah, it's tough, man. I got to go to the Capitol on Tuesday, and I've got to try to pretend to be nice.
You're gonna do
and
great. I believe in you.
It helps. It helps, though. All right. So now we need to get to the very last one, which is we get to the very last suchness. Such an ultimate identity. Now, what this one means, in one way, is that all the other 9 suchnesses are really all just one thing.
But isn't that what Buddhism always
I
does?
know,
There's
every
individual
time.
things, but they're all one big thing altogether.
Yes.
And
Gosh, they always pull this on me, making me remember all these little things just for them to all be one thing.
Mhm.
Buddha.
And so let me kind of explain identity. So it's not just saying that they're all one and they're kind of all the same thing. It's also and that they occur all at the same time. It's also saying that they're kind of inside of one another.
Like a Russian nesting doll.
Kind of.
you like your Russian nesting dolls.
I just like them. They're fun.
They are fun. And so it's a holistic concept, but it's also kind of holographic where each of the parts contains the whole, and that's the big mystery. And when we get into the 3,000 realms in a single thought, that's when we're really going to talk about what this means. So everything is connected in this big web, and we are simply breaking it down into its component parts so that we can understand them, become aware of them. And also, sometimes you need to be able to sort of shift. Sometimes you really need to be paying attention to appearance. Sometimes you really need to be paying attention to cause or effect. And that's what we mean by this kind of mobility of perspective. So this explains not only how all the things in the physical world work, all the phenomena around us, but it also explains how ideas come and interact, how mental and emotional states interact and arise. All of these things are really describing aspects of the ultimate reality of all things. All right, so the suchnesses is really just a way of breaking down how being works. What does it mean to be a being, and how does that work in the world? Now, who would like to do this quote from Nagarjuna?
Transcendental non-substantiality is also called the reality of all existence, because it is not broken nor destroyed.
All right, so anybody want to take a stab at what transcendental non-substantiality is?
A lot of big words.
Those are really, really big words. Okay, so let's break it down a little bit. What does transcendental mean?
Well, I mean, transcends above all things.
Okay,
I thought of transience.
Yeah, it's not quite, but it's close.
Okay.
Kind of above and beyond. All right, so things that are transcendental. This was a real hippie word back in the day, right?
Well, I mean, Buddhism is very hippie.
Yeah, well, yeah. And
Minus
there
the
was a thing called transcendental meditation. Do you remember the transcendental meditation people, the TM people? Yeah. So, and it was really about, getting above and beyond your ordinary mind. Okay, so that's transcendental. So, what is non-substantiality?
There's no substance to it.
Exactly.
So it's above everything, but it's nothing.
It's not substance. That doesn't mean it's not. That doesn't mean it's nothing.
Okay, so there's nothing to it.
No.
Nothing
it
physical
means
to
it's
it?
not nothing physical to it. All right, it's not material. So transcendental non-substantiality is called the reality of all existence because it is everywhere and it doesn't change. It in itself is constant and the same. The great life force of the universe. It comes into being and it goes out. But it itself is non-substantial and it's beyond all the material world. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is not everything comes and goes, but that in itself is the great life force of the universe, and it's never broken or destroyed. Okay, everybody gotten it?
Aye, Captain.
This is emptiness.
It all comes back
is
to
that
emptiness.
thing. Right. It all comes back to emptiness. Emptiness is that thing.
It all becomes one thing, and that one thing always comes back to emptiness.
The reason it's called emptiness is because it's non-substantial.
That makes sense, yeah.
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 That's
Okay.
I kind of connected that when
Yeah.
the
All right,
dots.
now-
That makes sense.
The dots
All right.
connected.
So we need to talk about the middle way one last time. So emptiness is this transcendental non-substantiality, which means that everything is the same and inseparable. And that is the reality beyond phenomena. And it is really important to get that in Buddhism. You need to understand that. However, you also need to understand that appearance is important too. The material world is still here and is still important. And you can't just decide that, oh man, does anything really exist?
Because, yeah.
So do I need a job? Because,
Yeah.
money's like, it's just a social construction. And so we don't need to do stuff because, nothing's really real. And that is not what we're saying at all.
Now you need to say tubular at the end of that.
No, because tubular is really a couple of decades past where I'm characterizing right now. All right.
That ain't tubular of you, man.
That's so not tubular of
Okay,
you.
none of this is tubular. So what we need to talk about is how this helps to be able to see things as empty and substantial. How does that help us?
I guess it helps fathom everything and all of the things that we're taught in Buddhism a little bit more.
Yeah.
And it kind of encompasses everything and helps us not take life so seriously that,
We forget some of the Buddha's teachings and lose ourselves to attachment to the world.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of getting at. But the substantiality,
Yeah.
substantiality, it keeps us grounded and makes sure that we're not going too far off of the spiritual deep end and lose ourselves into it and go insane.
That's really good.
Yeah.
I mean, really, insanity is either of those extremes. And that's why the middle way is such a powerful concept. All right. And so I think it could really help us in, dealing with the craziness of America today. Because
Reach.
yeah, it's hard to really see that, Buddha nature is alive and well, even though, the way the culture is going is very much against what Buddha would have said is a good idea for a society.
I mean, if Buddha nature wasn't still alive and well, would we be here?
Exactly.
And to be fair, we're also a little bit in the echo chamber of censored media right now.
Yeah, and it's hard. We hear the the information that's being fed to us, and some of it is meant to make us angry. Yeah,
It's meant to make us give up too.
Yeah, exactly.
But hearing things from the outside also really gives me hope
Totally.
and faith in the rest of humanity.
Yeah. I mean, we're not the only country going insane, but there are others that are not.
They're significantly in a better place than us.
Yeah.
I'm glad you cleared up emptiness because
Yeah.
I've had it wrong all this time. I thought the physical world is really what's empty and shallow and limiting and it isn't going to bring us inner peace necessarily. I mean, obviously our needs need to be met. We have to have a roof over our head, but beyond that, does it really matter? You can't take any of it with you when you go and all that. So anyway.
But you can in a way.
We take the karma we accumulate here with us when we go.
That's true. And
But not the material.
yeah. No, it's
But-
still. I mean, that's the nice thing about Buddhism is it's saying the material world, is not really this fallen horrible place. It's, it's also resting on top of Buddha nature.
It's resting on top of nirvana.
It's all part of it.
Yeah. And there are whole schools of Buddhism where you use, your attachment to the material world as a way to transcend it.
That's something that I've thought about a lot. Is this isn't necessarily a criticism of any religion, but this is kind of my personal take and the reason why I don't follow, or I've never followed, the overarching religion that's popular in America. And, there's other religions in the world that also follow this. Is there's such an emphasis on death and the afterlife and such a focus that there's not really, you don't live in the moment. You're not in the material world and you're not grounded.
Yeah.
And I feel like that kind of makes things worse here almost.
Yeah, because it I think Buddhism, we really do have a need to try to make this world, this material world, better. I think that is a mandate that Buddhism, especially the Bodhisattva way, puts on us. We can't just sit here and just say, oh, it really doesn't matter what happens. We need to help, even if it's in very, very small ways in the world around us. Because
in the reality things, nobody truly 100% knows what the afterlife is going to be like.
No, and of course, Buddhism has some very clear pictures of what that is, which we'll get to in the next episode.
Every place does have a clear picture, but I think that's the part of being human and being alive is we don't for sure know, and making the most of what we have while we're living and making the life better for us while we're still here.
Yeah, and you don't want to use any notion of the afterlife as a way to neglect or be distracted from the things in the material world that you need to deal with.
Absolutely.
Okay, so it's time to recap. Are you ready? You totally remember the things that happened in the last hour.
100%. Yeah!
Of course. We don't have short attention spans. We're Buddhist. All right.
Well, I mean, is there anything in the sutra about short attention spans? Are we going to...
The monkey mind?
Yeah, definitely.
Gosh darn it, you're right. Yes. I forgot about that. I forgot about that.
We are monkeys, men. We have minds for sure.
I've sure been a monkey this entire time.
So... we've been talking about suchness as the ultimate reality of all things. What are the suchnesses?
Such an appearance.
Such a nature.
Such an embodiment.
Such a potential.
Such a function.
Such a cause.
Such a condition.
Such an effect.
Such a reward.
And such...
an ultimate identity.
All right, and we got into all of the little mysteries of what that means.
Woo!
So, that's it.
Thank you all for listening to the Bloomin Bodhisattva podcast, brought to you by the Rissho Kosei-kai Dharma Center in Oklahoma City. And stay tuned for the next episode when we will talk about
3,000 realms in a single thought.
Until then, our fellow bodhisattvas,
keep on bloomin'!